Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I will show you how to create a navbar, a simple navbar using a Flexbox. This is just one way of creating a simple navbar. So let's start. As you can see, we have our index HTML boilerplate. So we have to insert our body to start with navigation. We will start with nav element. In our body, we'll put nav element to our body. So why to use nav element? The purpose of nav tag is a semantic markup. So I would highly recommend you to use nav tag because web crawlers are much happier to find your content well described and laid out. And that's why I would highly recommend for you to use a nav tag. And the next thing what we are going to do to list out the elements, we have to use the UL tag in our markup HTML. The UL tag defines an ordered bulleted list. And if you want to have bulleted list, we have to use li tag inside our UL tag. So UL is a parent element of these li tags. So li tags should always have parent elements. Okay, so we'll have home here. I will copy and paste. We'll have about. We'll have contacts. And then we'll have services. Now let's save it and let's refresh our page and see how it looks like. It looks like a bulleted point list, and our information which we have inserted in li tags appeared here. So the next thing what we have to do, we have to style this nav bar. In order to style this nav bar, we have to link CSS to our HTML. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to style this navbar using our CSS. So let's start. We have to go to style CSS and we have already linked it to our HTML, as you can see from here. So let's start. What we are starting with, nav element. So we're selecting nav element, which is the parent element in our body, and we are defining the font size. So font size 2 rem. I'll explain now what does it mean. And then background color will be, yes, anything of these colors. Okay, I just want you to show an example. Okay, so font size 2 rem. So what does it mean, rem? Rem is a CSS unit, and rem is always relative to the root element, which is the HTML element. So default font size for HTML element is 16 pixels. So 1 rem equals to 16 pixels. And here I use 2 rem. It means what you have to do, you have to multiply 16 by 2. It will be 32 pixels. If you want, we can even refresh the page and go and check in Google Chrome as well. And background color, this will be background color of navigation bar. So let's say, okay, now what you can see here, you can see our navigation bar highlighted in the color that we have set in background color, and home, about, contact, services, font size have been increased. So if you want, we can check with inspect, we can check the font size as I told you before. So if you go to compute it and you will check the font size, which is 32 pixels, which means 16 pixels is multiplied by 2 and equals in pixels 32 pixels. So this is our nav. We have selected nav and we have styled it. Now we'll go further. What we have to do now, what I don't like here, I don't like the listing bullet points. I don't like it at all. So I want to get rid of it. So in order to get rid of it, I have to select not nav element, because nav element is the one in the box. We have to select the UL tag inside this navigation. So that's why we have to use nav UL by the way, this is called descendant selector. So it means that nav parent element, we can just select any child element inside of it, but by just selecting it. Okay, so we have to choose list style type to none. So by choosing this, we are eliminating the bullet points, as you can see from here. And the next, what we have to do, before talking about margin and paddings, I want to show you what we have here. So as you can see, our navigation bar have some margin and some padding. So let's check. So if you select it, you will see that our navigation bar have top and bottom margins of 32 pixels, as you can see the orange box, and you can see it from here as well. And also the padding, this UL has padding, but also only it has left padding. It doesn't have any other paddings which have in this green line 40 pixels of padding, and we want to eliminate this. We don't want it. That's why we will set margin to 0 and padding to 0. Okay, now let's check. Okay, this looks good now. Let's go ahead. And so I want to do, I don't like actually that the way how LI tags, these home, about, and contacts, as you can see, these are LIs. It comes up when you press on it. So they are kind of too close to each other. So I want them to be a little bit far from each other, not to be too close. So that's why I have to select navigation parent element, then UL, and then li tags inside of this UL. So what I have to do, I have to use padding, and I will use here 0.5 rem. And now I want you to guess how much my padding will be, the LI paddings will be. And I told you before, 1 rem equals to 16 pixels, and here I have used half of it, so half of 16 is 8 pixels. Now I think that you have guessed. If we save and refresh the page, we can see that the padding, we have 8 pixels. You can see from here as well the padding of these elements. Okay, and the next thing I want to do a cursor effect. I will put it to pointer. It means that when you select it, you'll have a cursor pointer effect. Now let's refresh the page and see. As you can see, the cursor effect here we have. Okay, so what's next? Next, we want a hover effect. So a hover effect we want to have on li elements itself. That's why we have to select nav ul and li element, and we have to put our hover effect on this li elements, exactly on these li elements, because when we want to hover over them, we want to see different background color. So what we have to do, we have to choose navigation, nav ul and li, and then we'll choose hover effect. And what do we want in our hover effect? When we hover over the element, we want to see background color gray, and we want the color of the font to be white. Okay, perfect. Now let's save and go and check it. Okay, now as you can see, when we hover over it, we can see its background color is gray and the color of the font is white. Okay, now let's go ahead with our Flexbox. Now we'll have to use a Flexbox. How we use it, we put a display flex. So, and when we save it, we can see that our elements are listed as in a row, but there is no space between them. We don't like it. We want a space between them. That's why we use justify content and space around and save, refresh. We can see that we have space between them. But what I don't like is when you hover over the elements, you can see that the hover element takes the width of only the text, not the width of the whole flex. So in order to eliminate this, we have to add flex auto to li elements, and also text align center. But before we save and go and check it, we have to uncomment this just for content space around. Okay, let's save and check it. It looks perfect. It takes the whole width of the element, and when you hover over, the text is in the center, and the hover is all about the flex, all the width of the flex. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel for more tech tutorials.